and welcome to Get the Table, another wrestling roundtable discussion podcast with myself, Adam Wilborn, and the Dadley boys of WhatCulture, Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to discuss another burning wrestling issue. And that issue today is how WWE can book the biggest pop ever at Elimination Chamber. And Michael Hamflett, we are talking, of course, about Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn next weekend.
Yes, I can't claim credit for this idea. It started with something that Andy Murray mentioned in the office earlier this week because we of course, are discussing this all the time. It's one of the hottest stories. They're building this big premium live event main event. He has suggested, and I think this will go down a treat considering the things that are going to come after this match and this show, of Sami Zayn winning the title, but in a dusty finish. WWE giving the Montreal crowd, and indeed the fans watching at home, the moment of Sami Zayn lifting the titles aloft, the idea, just long enough to ruminate that Roman Reigns has actually been defeated this close to WrestleMania, indeed the end of his 800, 900 plus day title reign, everything like that, only for it to be revealed that there was a foot on the rope, or something else that usually denotes a dusty finish. Yeah, under the rope. The cheapest possible escape route for Roman Reigns, basically, to the point where the building is so deflated, Sami Zayn is so emotionally exhausted from finally believing that he's got the job done, that Roman Reigns gets to take advantage with a spear, with a Superman punch, and wraps it up and takes the title in the cruelest of fashions. It's something that once upon a time, hopefully not now, would have scanned as a WWE troll job, but there are sort of narrative reasons why this would kind of make sense within the context of the bloodline. Roman Reigns has been a coward more than he's been a leader and a champion, and he's used the ugliest of tactics to keep his family in tow and everybody in check, and Sami Zayn was the bravest one to step out of the bloodline. So for him to lose like this through Roman not really earning it, but just about getting through it, would kind of not let the audience feel like they've been ripped off. They'd get just enough of the taste of the moment, even if they didn't get the moment itself.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, Sidge, anticipating a heartbreaking pay-per-view next weekend in terms of we're hoping that Sami can get it done and what a story that would be. But I think especially after the promo that Cody cut on Monday night, it feels like WWE probably going to go in the opposite direction.
Yes, absolutely. And if they are going to go into the opposite direction, there's one key remit, and it's not about Sami. Even if it's in Montreal, it's not about Sami. The big remit here is heating Roman Reigns up to an incandescent level. And I think the dusty finish is the way to actually achieve that. Just before I get to my idea of how to maybe enhance it or to really heighten the emotion, I'm so looking forward to this match. Like, it's a WWE match. I skew AEW. Those are my personal tastes, but I cannot wait for this match. It's been booked impeccably. The storyline is almost as good as people are saying, and people have been very hyperbolic, but that's how awesome it is. I am even, like a complete dork, fantasy booking spots for it. I want to see Sami Zayn dust off that incredible through the ropes DDT, right? Get Roman Reigns back into the ring and then get the 2.999 kick out, at which, by the way, Roman Reigns is amazing. It's like Kurt Angle, a Carter tier for how he's done those 2.999s in this heel role. Then I want Sami, believing that's the key to victory, to go for it again, get trapped in the guillotine choke on the outside, and then do a New Japan-style count-out tease. Like, there's just so much they can do.
I'm waking up screaming, thinking of the Blue Thunder Bomb 2 count in Montreal of all places. The one that Sami always believes gets it done.
Yeah.
Oh, my head.
Like there is so much they can do here. And again, as much as it would be nice for Sami Zayn to win it, as much as some people, this isn't reflected in arenas, so this might be Twitter bubble stuff, but as much as people kind of want Sami Zayn to do it, he isn't. That's just not the way it's going to be. So because it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, they need to do a massive heat angle, and the dusty finish is the way to do it. And I think, right, to really put it over the edge is that, oh my God, it's actually happened, is that Sami Zayn should come out to his normal current entrance theme, which he's still using, correct?
Yeah.
Come out of that. A lot of people might in the stands think, oh, it was time for the that one. Don't enter to that theme. Come out to his current theme. He's still going to get a massive pop, like an enormous pop, which we'll get to later. And then when he wins with Roman's foot under the ropes, then you re-debut the celebration music of his old theme so that people think, well, it must be real because this is a big in the best possible way, manufactured moment. Oh my God, it's his old theme. Jesus Christ, bring down the confetti. And then he can get Superman punched onto it when it was revealed that it will be the Dusty finish. And Roman has won this one again. And then he can have that mental image mirroring the aftermath of the Royal Rumble, where instead of roses, it's the heavily ironic confetti that Sami Zayn has been sort of knocked out in.
You've happened across two parts of LTST with that Sige. It was Sami Zayn who used Roman's theme as a distraction in the very early days of the Bloodline when he was in the production truck pressing buttons. And it was Roman with his head in his hands in the confetti at the Survivor Series 2015 after Sheamus cashed in his money in the bank.
Yeah.
Remember that image of like, wow, they've destroyed that top babyface. But
Yes.
this time it would be for the right reasons
Yes.
that a babyface has got a head in their hands.
Oh, they
confetti
could mirror
everywhere.
that. They could
Mirroring
mirror
scene,
that.
Roman now putting somebody else in the dirt in the way that he'd had to climb out of it all those years ago.
That would be incredible. There's two flaws to this plan, right? One is that you're potentially killing the town. But Montreal's been a long-serving market that, lest we forget, is kind of put up much worse.
Something else went down there, didn't it?
Something else went down in 1997 that you'd think if anything's going to kill that town, it's going to be the screw job. It didn't. This advance for this Montreal show on a week today or 6 days from today, from recording. SmackDown hasn't happened yet. So if they didn't kill it then, they're not going to kill it with this. I think that people will leave that show obviously devastated, but they'll realize that they've taken part and were a big part of a work of fiction that will be legendary, irrespective of whether our fantasy booking idea actually materializes. And they'll, over the next however many days, think, you know what, I was glad I was there because what an amazing chapter in an amazing story of which we played a major part. If the mental image of Sami Zayn holding those two belts is powerful enough, that might be the one thing that makes people think by comparison, I want that to happen and not Cody. That is a risk. I still maintain, I still contend that WWE fans are genuinely happy that two very different baby faces happen to be getting pushed simultaneously, and they are happy to let each development unfold separately.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit. I'm glad you touched on it about the fan reaction to whatever happens at Elimination Chamber. I always picture the if Cena wins, we riot sign from ECW, of course. Now I'm picturing if Zayn loses, we riot. But yeah, is this because the whole thing throughout this, whether it was, well, what if Sami's not in the Rumble? What if the fans turn on Cody? Is this the best way of getting around it? And yeah, will they riot? Will they react in the ideal possible way? Because we all know that that's not the end of the line for Sami and the Bloodline if he doesn't win the big one.
Well, I think the mere fact we're able to discuss this and it not feel like just Vince McMahon doing something cruel, as he often did, speaks to how much faith people have put in this storyline and how much trust we're kind of imposing on the Montreal crowd, I guess, to not riot or at least feel miserable, to have that. Like, what you want is heat. You don't want the hum of the 2014-2015 Royal Rumble boos or that awkward silence that would greet another, ironically, Roman Reigns victory when he was a babyface. Think about the Roman Reigns-Brock Lesnar second WrestleMania match where nobody wanted anything of what they were being served. Like these are like the worst case scenarios, but I feel like everybody has collectively accepted that we're at the point in the story where that sort of stuff's not going to happen. People thought the Rumble was going to be a gamble, and it played out magnificently, and that's earned WWE the trust to get this one right too, especially when we're talking about things like Sami Zayn losing in Montreal. Foot under the rope kind of makes the most sense, I think, logically, but there is the prospect of, for example, the camera being tight on the shoulders and the referee counting three and everything being fine, and then a replay revealing that slipping out from under the ring. Or remember when Sami Zayn lifted Kevin Owens off the table and you didn't see him till the last minute? Or for a more recent example, Solo Sikoa interfering on behalf of Roman at Clash at the Castle. You don't see these things until they're shown to you explicitly, even in the building. Jey Uso appearing from nowhere to put Roman's foot on the rope, and nobody seeing it until the replay and it was too late.
Or, of course, his finger.
His one finger on the rope, something like that. Like just an ever so slight reveal after the fact where everybody does get the joy, I think makes it more like heat than the fans feeling cheated out of the moment they deserved, the moment they wanted. And as well, we've not even yet talked about how the show, like strictly speaking, goes off the air.
Yeah.
The visual of Sami and the confetti, I think, is absolutely inspired. But equally, Montreal could be like completely deflated by Sami not getting it done, but then brought back around when, for example, Kevin Owens saves him from another brutal bloodline beatdown. We all talked about the Sami Zayn beatdown. How can it be truly, truly great without blood? And they did it. They managed it. So they could be on the verge of another one, only for Owens to make the save. And it's the proper reunion. Like, Sami Zayn was in the ring, but Kevin Owens was in handcuffs. You didn't get a hug. You didn't even get a look. Kevin Owens was knocked out the whole time. He was staring, and you wanted to believe that he kicked out his leg at one point, but really there was no like overt connection between the two men other than what we know. So seeing them have that bond would at least give you that in-arena pop and set you on the next chapter.
The dusty finish is the sort of football equivalent of thinking you've scored the last-minute winner and not realising the linesman's got his flag up, isn't
yes,
he? That's what it is.
Well, Dusty Rhodes invented VAR.
Yes, I did.
But let's talk about this, Sid, in comparison to huge pubs in WWE history. What are some of the ones that immediately jump to your mind?
CM Punk Money in the Bank. Is that the very loudest a WWE show has ever...
It should be what they copy. Sweeping.
This has got the potential to be louder, and that's why I'm enormously excited, because even that was tinged with, I've got a feeling that Vince McMahon is not going to reframe WWE in the image of Ring of Honor or New Japan Pro Wrestling.
or if anything, a bit like Taz at the Royal Rumble, you're reacting too much for him. They'll not like this.
I just, even that was tinged with, they can't possibly get this right. Spoiler alert, they did not. If they can equal that, my God, on purpose, by design. Obviously, they designed the Money in the Bank main event, but it was not a long-term idea that they were really, really hoping to make something of. But my God, that was deafening. It was the same deal. Hometown, that was already predisposed to being a hot WWE market. And something about that Money in the Bank, it's magic. Like, it's obviously as loud as anything. The CM Punk chants are deafening. It's this moment in time, but it gets like, I don't know, a bit ominous the more CM Punk enters the ring, and the sort of aggressive nature of his theme just really makes it feel like a total bear pit that John Cena's walking into. And like CM Punk, because he's a master, if there's one time the babyface doesn't have to do the appeal bit and beg for the crowd to do something, it was that night. And yet he's still on the top rope, was like, louder, come on, give it to me. And that's when the song mutates into that dirge, and it just gets a bit more feral and a bit more ominous. My God, that will take something to beat that. And that's the awesome bit about all of this. They could beat it.
WWE can do a beautiful job of shooting moments like this, and it makes it all the more frustrating that they decide not to book them for about 20 years. Honestly, like that Money in the Bank thing, I love that Punk entrance, but I love the seconds before the music hits, because they put a camera right at the back of the Allstate, and you get, like, the Allstate's a big venue, but not a huge one, 15,000 or something, but the crowd just are, like, every single person, it's that old cliche, that announced cliche, everyone is standing, everyone is chanting, you can feel the atmosphere. We were talking about this for prep for this podcast, but when Sidgwick brought up the Daniel Bryan pulling off the boiler suit in the steel cage match with Bray against the Usos. That shot of him on the cage is absolutely beautiful, where he paces out the yeses slower than usual, and every fan matches his pace.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and the commentators lay out, and you get like a wide shot that you never normally see, because it brings in the hard camera, and they don't like showing you that production side, but they think, well, this is too good. Everybody in the building is going for this. We've got to broadcast it. You're thinking, you weren't going to book this. What are you thinking? Like, even then, when that shot took place, that was before the Rumble, wasn't it? So it's like,
yes,
yeah, we're still bang up for Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus. Like, even when they can present this, they still don't often want to do it. And I just think they've shown their ability to produce things like this.
Well, you were lucky enough to be in attendance for one of these huge pops at War Games, of course.
Yeah, like, again, Kevin Owens was predicted pretty much all week as the surprise entrance to Team NXT. The Undisputed Era would beat him up. There was a mini story as well as a macro one about Owens returning for the night, and they just delayed it. And it looked like there was going to be no fourth man, and the Undisputed Era were going to be fine, and all that was going to be right. And that, again, like, just highlighted and heightened this enormous, enormous response. Kevin Owens is a wrestler that has that in him as well. He does those entrances where, I remember you said this, Sidge, when John Moxley debuted for AEW, and it felt like he was breathing again for the first time because he went like that. Kevin Owens, when he loves what he's doing, does that. You could see it when he wrestled against Steve Austin. It was the same at War Games. Similarly, you can see when he's not that bothered, but he would certainly be bothered here. Him being the guy that was last seen, because I'm assuming he's not going to appear on television, last seen handcuffed, beaten and broken, returning there and then in Montreal would be one of those moments. Like, I like WWE. Double pop. I like WWE capital M moments as much as they've been bastardized, because when they're great, they're unbelievable. They're the thing probably that made me a wrestling fan.
Yeah, the noise that we got at the Rumble, just for Sami stepping in front of Roman, let alone when he hit him with the chair, let alone, like you say, it being in Montreal, it would be off the scale.
Yeah, Hamflet made a great point about the Royal Rumble. Stadiums are not meant to sound like that.
Yeah.
I've heard irresistible atmospheres at WrestleMania, but it's different because, you know, the acoustics aren't the same. It carries through the air, and it's not enclosed in that roof. It doesn't feel like it's vibrating. A stadium's not meant to sound like it did. So if you do that with a roof, with better acoustics, a hometown crowd, and you think it's the end of the story, like this could be like a seminal professional wrestling moment.
I'm excited but really nervous for next weekend.
Bloody deserved it as well. For bloody once, it wasn't the fans projecting what they want onto this company. They have manufactured it as a work, and it's been brilliant.
We need to get away from that, don't we? How have they stumbled into this one? They haven't.
They've booked it.
They've
booked it.
Well, let us know your thoughts on our fantasy booking. Let us know your fantasy booking in the comment section below or on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there. You can follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflet at
Michael Hamflet.
You can follow Michael Sidgwick at
M. Sidgwick.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. As I said, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from, and enjoy Elimination Chamber next weekend. We'll, of course, be doing our live stream reactions for it as well. But for now, this has been Get the Table. My thanks to the Dadley Boys. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.